Welcome to the Play Chug podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Levy. I'm joined by my co-host, Vince Signori with the silent G. Vince, how you doing today?
Doing good. Feeling dangerous. Let's get it going.
2020, the Major League Baseball season has mercifully, painfully come to a close. I say that, it's a little bit disappointing since, both of our teams didn't do so well. I mean, my team did a little bit better. But, as per usual, the script goes, we choke in the playoffs and get sent home early. So I didn't even watch the World Series.
Yeah, definitely one for me that hits close to home. Certainly, looking at your Braves and the NLDS, I believe, right? And up 3-1 and losing that to the Dodgers with all hope of winning crushed me internally. And then to only have the Dodgers as a Giants fan, also located out here in San Francisco, to only hear fireworks go off at night in San Francisco, quite troublesome. So I've gotten past it, but that was a day of reckoning internally and mentally and physically and emotionally and all the above.
So you heard fireworks going off in San Francisco because of the Dodgers winning?
Dodgers won, fireworks go off. I go on the Citizen app. I report that immediately because that is not a celebration we're allowed to be having here in San Francisco.
That's a good point. I got to get on next door to just keep complaining.
Yeah. Shout out to the Citizen app. Great app. Def follow. Maybe a sponsorship coming soon.
Yeah. We'll send you guys a blank check here, Citizens app. Also, speaking of other potential sponsors, I always like to use Kleenex. I like to keep it by because, sometimes sports brings me to tears. Kleenex Ultra Soft tissues, they're 3 layered strong, sneezes for smudges, sneezes, and most importantly, those painstaking moments when Dansby Swanson stupidly gets caught into a rundown going home after a ball hit right to Justin Turner. And then Austin Riley getting doubled up at third base for not running. So there it is. But I got to hand it to the Dodgers, though. I mean, they are a good team, and I guess we can't deny it any longer. It's hard for me to talk about, but the Dodgers are the best team in 2020 at least. And I mean, if you look at just the pure stats going back even last year, they were just unstoppable.
Yeah, they're a fantastic team, right? I mean, they're built from the ground up. Majority of the players on that team were drafted by the organization. Not only they continue to bring up talent, they have more talent even behind that talent. So this is a run that's not only going to be a one-year deal, right? You're talking about the next 10 years. You're talking about a team that's going to consistently be winning the NL West division. You have teams that are, say, rebuilding, right? Such as like the Diamondbacks and Giants, not really going to be in the fold, but certainly the Padres will be probably the main competition within that division. But at the end of the day, with what they have today from a standpoint of foundation, what they can bring in, like such as a trade with Mookie Betts and potentially another one, as they're going to be expanding some cap here for themselves to bring on another big name. I mean, this is a run that really has no end, but, the 10-year horizon, as we see with a lot of organizations, that's kind of how I define the organization. How do you win that next 10-year period, as the Giants did from 2010 to 2020 with 3 World Series?
That's a great point. And I mean, there's going to be a lot of questions around the validity or the credibility of this 2020 World Series, especially since the season was obviously shortened to 60 games. How do you think people will, label this team in terms of historical other teams in previous years? How do you think they rank?
Yeah, I mean, if you expand it across 162, right, they were on something of like a 108 to 115 win pace.
Just unrealistic.
So, which is unrealistic, of course, but still, like, they probably would have, barring injury, right, been easily over 100 wins. Still, when talking with, other fans and so forth, people with, watching sports and people that are, intelligent when it comes around baseball, winning only 62 games and then going through a playoff schedule and then having that, like, there has to be some type of asterisk to it. Jokingly, right, I've been calling it the Major League Baseball tournament because really at the end of the day, it is a tournament, right? It's not the full blown 162. Any injury can happen. Anyone can get hurt. Anything can change. And I know that specifically because I'm a Giants fan, right? And you're talking about in 2010, trying to block trades and bringing on someone like Cody Ross or picking up, Pat Burrell off waivers and he hits 20 homers for the Giants, right? Anything can happen. So for me personally, and of course bias follows with this, and I'll certainly let that be known. I mean, there has to be an asterisk when it comes to this, but let's see when it comes up in 162 what they do over the next 10 years. And I think they'll probably get another one, which breaks my heart even more.
That's a good point. And just to add on top of that, I think of it like this, how you have to put an asterisk on it, because if we were to have played 162 games this year, you got to ask yourself the question, would the outcome have been different? And I think undoubtedly it would have been. Like, there would have been players that had gotten injured or players that had come back from injury. For instance, there's some Braves players that some pretty critical Braves players like Mike Soroka that potentially might have made the playoffs. If he got injured at the beginning of the year when in April when it started, he might have been able to find his way back and actually started an extra crucial game. And basically that's what we lost by. If we had another stud starting pitcher, I see that series going dramatically different. However, that being said, I really did like the format of the playoffs this year. I like the extra round. I like the extra games, and I like the extra teams in it. It just makes it brings a lot more attention and excitement to the game. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the same with something like the wild card, right? You have the 1-game playoff. That to me is like one of the most spectacular events in sports, just because every pitch, of course, in playoffs means everything, right? But when you come down to the 1-game wild card, there are no room for mistakes. And certainly one, can make that to be a tremendous issue. The one thing I keep hearing and it keeps getting brought up, right, is this whole thing around Blake Snell being pulled in the World Series. As you treat the regular season, say full analytical, utilizing that in matchups and so forth, when you come to the World Series, it's a different ball game, right? It's completely different. You have to ride your horse. Something whereas like, Mad Bum, ride him all throughout KC, bring him out of the bullpen, let him take it home. That's the other part, right? So you certainly, 162 is absolutely important. I mean, you got to do well there, right, to even make the playoffs. But the regular season in comparison to playoffs or World Series is a completely different ball game. And really at the end of the day, right, depth is going to win, but also the crucial decisions that are being made by managers, not only based off analytics, but also the feel of the game. When you have someone like Betts who's coming up, who hits in the third time around hitting 226 against, the third time through hitting 226 against that starting pitcher. And I understand it's the third time around, but the guy was being unhittable. I mean, literally unhittable. So you got to take into, yes, analytics, because the Dodgers were doing the same thing. They're based on analytics as well with Friedman as he started on the Rays. But you need to also look, what is kind of the mood, or, where's the game going? What's the gut feel? And I think Bruce Bochy for the Giants is probably the best at that. And in my eyes, one of the better managers ever to be.
It's a good point. I think at the end of the day, the Dodgers, they earned this one. I mean, you can't deny how good they've been, though. The Dodgers have hit the most home runs in baseball this year. They have the best ERA. They're the second in runs scored. But how about this? There's not one meaningful category where they have a losing record. No opponent, no month, no split. They're 6-5 in 1-1 games, 12-3 in interleague games, 2-0 in 7-inning games, and an impressive 16-1 in games decided by more than 5 runs. They're number one, no question. So I think they deserved it.
Yep. And just last point there. I mean, when you have Dustin May as your 5th starter, he's throwing 100 miles an hour. Arguably, your best pitcher is not even your number one, and that's Walker Buehler. In my eyes, he's better than Kershaw. I mean, you got 5 games coming up that are going to be pretty tough, and then you have that bullpen that comes in too. Plus the hitting that they have and the athleticism in the outfield where you have Bellinger switching from first to right to center field. I mean, just not only very versatile, great depth, fantastic pitching, fantastic bullpen. They probably would have won it anyways if we went through 162, but we didn't, so we'll never know.
Yeah, and there's not many teams you could say that about, right? There's no other teams that were that convincing that they were just better than everybody else. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
it's go for it.
sorry, I cut you off there. I was just going to say, if you just look at, let's just minimize this, right, and look at it at a micro level. Just look at the NL West, right? Talk about the Padres and the Dodgers. Dodgers are essentially treating the Padres like their little son, right? And the Padres are a great team beating up on everyone else. That
Hmm.
tells you how great the Dodgers actually are, right? The only team that actually played them tough, which is just kind of funny, are the Giants. The Giants went, I believe, 4-3 against them in the season. So there's no other team that actually has won 3 games on them, right? Even respective to the World Series. So they're just a fantastic team, and they're really the bully of the MLB.
Yeah, and you gotta love baseball for having those. Baseball, anyone can win on any day, right? And especially it's especially uncertain when you're playing your rivals. So SF Giants and Dodgers games are always a treat. I'm not a big fan of either. However, if I were to watch one of them, I mean, one game of either of them, preferably it would be against each other.
Nothing like that series. I know everyone likes the Yankee Red Sox. Obviously, bias comes from me, but Dodger Giants, fantastic series. There's a period of time where Dodgers were picking Giants players to come in as free agents. It's a fantastic series. It's always close regardless of how the teams are doing.
Yeah, I just get a sheer. I guess it's enjoyable just to feel so much uh, passionate hatred towards two teams while watching them both on the TV. It's actually, I guess, going at each other. It's kind of gratifying. But yeah. So let's move to talking about the Justin Turner situation. I know it's kind of crazy that that he was able to play the last game, but he was actually tested positive. It's unclear if it was during the game or if it was before the game or what was going on. But he played. He was 0 for 3. However, he still played, and to cap off the worst part, he came back out of an isolation bubble during the game at the end to come celebrate and take pictures with his teammates. We'll throw up an image of him sitting next to the manager. Vince, what do you have to say about this? This is kind of shocking, kind of questionable, and I don't think it bodes well for the image of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think there's a lot of questions being asked, and right now I believe we're 3 days after the fact. Um, the first thing is, right, when did he test positive? Obviously, being pulled in the sixth, we understand that, but did he potentially test positive before? Then he was only, basically in front of players at that time in a very much needed Game 6 win. Obviously, Walker Buehler going in Game 7, but you certainly don't want to get to that game. You want to win it in Game 6. So the question is, did he test positive before and they allowed him to play? The second thing is, like we previously stated, right, pulled in the sixth, but then comes back out to celebrate. He's not only celebrating, with the team members, the manager, etc. There's the families of those teammates, of the management, all down there as well. So really, right, this is arguably the most reckless, uh, you know, inhumane act you could think of, as we're talking about people who have COVID experiencing, severe symptoms, right? That last weeks upon months, where people have died, right? Upwards of 200,000. And this is taken that lightly to where, Dodgers personnel allows him to come back in. They allow the player to make the choice, which is unbelievable, because at the end of the day, this is a management decision. And then secondarily, right, when we're going through all this and we're trying to understand, why is he out there without a mask and then putting a mask back on, but yet taking these and then conversating with everyone to then find out that he has COVID throughout this? I mean, Manfred should be absolutely disappointed, but he probably, as I thought he looked absolutely drunk when he gave his speech handing over the trophy. So is he even capable of making that decision? And previous things, certainly around labor agreements and so forth, I would tell you, no, he can't make that decision. I don't think he can at all. And certainly Tony Clark from the Player Association isn't gonna be able to back that up either. Those are two individuals who need to be stripped of their roles. This is an embarrassment for the MLB. This should have never happened. This is one of the biggest, other than say like a swine flu or so forth, one of the biggest epidemics we've had in the U.S. And this is how lightly it's being treated. Absolutely reckless, inhumane, uncalled for, embarrassing, but not shocking by the Dodgers organization.
Yeah, add that in there. I love it. But yeah, I think you're totally right. It's a whole organizational thing, and it comes from the top down. Really, I mean, Manfred, his statement afterwards is kind of like unforgivable. I mean, he says, following the Dodgers' victory, it's clear that Turner chose to disregard the agreed upon joint protocols and the instructions he was given, regarding the safety and protection of others. While the desire to celebrate is understandable, Turner's decision to leave isolation and enter the field is wrong and put everyone he came into contact with at risk. When MLB security raised the matter of being on the field with Turner, he emphatically refused to comply. Now, it's still unknown how Turner contracted the virus at being in a soft bubble with the teammates in 3 weeks in Dallas. But the MLB is launching an investigation, and Manfred said, we really don't know how he contracted it. I prefer not to speculate. It's important for us to trace, obviously, what the health situation is and whoever was in the hotel before turning them loose to travel. The statement really doesn't take any responsibility. It doesn't show that they're actually serious about it. And, I am frankly, I think people are right if they want to call for this man's job, because he's got a huge long track record even before this of really like tainting the image of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean that is the most cookie cutter PR statement you could ever have, right? I mean that's just find the template, fill in the blanks, push it out. That's all that is, right? I mean, no accountability, no responsibility on it. I mean, that shows you kind of where the MLB is going, right? It's a dying sport. Ratings are being crushed. When you have a leader like that's a tremendous problem. This should have been handled completely in a different way. I know there's numerous articles being written by, some of the best baseball writers in America, and they are all pounding at the door of Manfred, talking about why this even happened, why there was even an opportunity for this to happen. I personally can't, back them up on this. And certainly, hearing about the stories of people who have COVID, it's a very unfortunate situation that, was deemed very lightly in their eyes, and it's not, right? We're all in a time of being isolated for the last 4 or 5 months. We're all practicing good behaviors of wearing masks outside. This really just takes a knock at everything we've been doing and everything we've been doing right, and showing really the younger audience who's watching baseball that that's okay, and that's not okay.
Totally agreed. I mean, Manfred has garnished quite an impressive resume as his tenure as the commissioner. I mean, he blamed the amount of publicity and popularity of guys like Mike Trout not wanting to be, the face of an endorsement. He's called the World Series trophy a piece of metal. He admitted that the Houston Astros cheated and still let them get away with it. And now this has got to be the straw that breaks this camel's back. He just destroyed the credibility of baseball yet again. And I hope MLB takes a look at it.
Sure hope so. I mean, this really comes down to the owners at the end of the day, right? I mean, certainly if they're making money, Manfred stays. It's the same as Goodell, right? Goodell makes the NFL owners a lot of money. That's why he's made it through all of the different types of gates, that have come out. But it's just unfortunate. I wish it never happened. And certainly, at the end of the day, right, it's something for everyone to learn from, but this should not be taken lightly. And right from this investigation that's going to come out, there's going to be nothing that comes
Nothing.
from it.
Yeah,
Nothing.
you're right.
No.
I mean, ever feel like you sucked at your job? Well, the good news is that none of us who stink at our jobs are alone, because we always have Rob Manfred leading the way for us, screwing things up left and right in order to make sure that we never think that even a high-paid executive is better than any of us.
Yep.
And which leads me to our leads me to our sponsor, ZipRecruiter. Speaking of horrible employees, this episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter is a leading online platform marketplace that leverages artificial intelligence-powered smart matching technology to actively connect millions of employers and job seekers. If you're currently looking at another Rob Manfred while listening to this in an office, have had enough but don't know where to start looking to replace him or her, go to ZipRecruiter.com/EPC for help. That's ZipRecruiter.com/EPC for Eat, Play, Chug podcast to get started today. All right, let's move off. Let's get a little less dark and get a little bit more optimistic and start talking about the 2021 free agent class. Now, it was supposed to be headlined by Mookie Betts, but he signed a 12-year, massive $365 million extension with the Dodgers in July. So he took himself out of the free agent class. So now, who are the top free agents? The market could become a little more crowded depending on how clubs handle the litany of option and non-tender decisions ahead. However, this list, I think we're going to restrict it to free agents who are definitely free agents. I mean, some of the notables that we're not going to include with mutual investing options will be Anthony Rizzo or someone like Carlos Santana or Colton Wong. But for now, let's just go strictly free agents. Who do you have in your top five?
Yeah, I mean, just top five wise, I think we start number one, right? JT Realmuto, number one hitting catcher in the MLB. You could just base it off. This is going to be a massive contract. It's going to be at least $100 million with Grandal getting 4 years, $73 million last year from the White Sox. Prediction, he's going back to the Phillies. Phillies aren't going to let him go. He's the protection of Harper, fantastic hitter. And also, great at positioning, in setting up pitchers for all those different types of pitches. Real Muto is going back to the Phillies. It'll be a big contract, be a 4-year 100, but he's the number one on the board.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I mean, the Phillies gave away their best starting catcher prospect, so I don't see them being able to fill that void if JT Realmuto, if they let him slip by and go somewhere else. So I think it's on the impetus is on the front office right now. They've got a lot of pressure on them to sign him because there really isn't a better option, and that really puts them, I think, in an uncomfortable position because when you sign a superstar catcher at the age of 30 years old, you have you have to have questions on how long this guy's going to last, right? I guess the DH coming to the NL potentially might alleviate this contract, but they don't necessarily have like the best contractual situations to just be able to blow money. So as a Braves fan, I'm actually kind of hoping he goes to Philly and have like a Joe Mauer type of career.
Well, and the one thing too, just last piece there, as of what Manfred said, is that the NL will not have a DH as of next year. This was just purely a COVID year DH situation. So I know that's probably up to vote, but he's going to be the full-time catcher, right? For next 4 years. So like you said, it's specifically to us. We have Buster Posey on the Giants. You're going to have hip issues. You have knee issues. Once the legs go, the power goes. So definitely in that third or fourth year, you could see some decline, but in the next two, probably the best hitting catcher in the MLB.
Yeah. So the next top free agent I have is Trevor Bauer. Now, Trevor Bauer, he had lights out stuff last year, in the shortened season. The year before that wasn't nearly as good, but he was in a transition from Cleveland over to Cincinnati, kind of getting used to that bandbox ballpark over there. I think I have high hopes for Bauer, at least for the next 2 or 3 seasons, pitching at a very, very high level. I'm not so sure if a team is going to want to put up with his antics, though. I mean, he's got a great Twitter account, but I mean, coming from a Braves fan, watching him pitch against us in the playoffs this year, and he was doing the strut off the mound like he was that boxer. What's his name? That Irish boxer,
McGregor.
He was doing the McGregor coming off the mound. He was doing the fake tomahawk chop. He was annoying to watch. So it'll be interesting to see, what sort of clubhouse and manager will be able to will offer him any sort of contract.
Yep, at Bauer Power Twitter handle. He's fantastic. Follow. I think people sometimes get it confused as the confidence, as the cockiness. Certainly, he's backed it up with his K rate and as fast as he pitches and his off speed. This is a pretty easy one for me, to be honest with you. I think the one team that needs him, and it's a perfect fit from a standpoint as well of their stadium, San Diego Padres. I think it's a very easy one. They needed number one. They traded for Clevenger. Obviously, he has an injury past. He would be a perfect number one. Clevenger goes to number two. I think that's a fantastic rotation, and that's really what they're missing, because at the end of the day, right, who are they competing against? The Dodgers. And the Dodgers have the pitching. Padres do not. So you don't want to keep winning 7-6. You love a couple games, you win 3-2, 2-1.
It's good. Yeah, I think I could see him going to San Diego as well. I'm not sure what their salary cap is, or their salary is at right now. But yeah, that seems like a really good fit. The next one on our list is George Springer. George Springer, he's 30 years old, and his recent injury history will limit his earning power. He's not having a great 20. He didn't have a great 2020, and we'll see if any future fallout there is for a position player from the 2017 scandal series is like what I like to call it. He's still got a career OPS of 845, and he's got a pretty good postseason pedigree. So what do you think about George Springer?
I was just going to say the same thing. I think you look at George Springer purely off postseason, right? Hitting 276, 19 bombs, 38 RBIs in the postseason over the course of 5 years. That's where he's going to make his money. Does he re-sign with the Astros? That's probably what I'll bet on if I'm a betting man. But I do believe that he will actually leave the Astros this year. To what team? I don't know. That's why I'll state the Astros, but really I think he's going to be leaving there. There are a lot of teams that need center field help, need pop. So certainly I think there's many teams that could use his services, maybe even someone like the Texas Rangers. Brand new stadium, need some electricity in center field. That could be one, but I'll stay with the Astros, but I have a feeling that he's probably going to be leaving because he's going to be asked.
Yeah, it's a pretty good bet as well. I mean, Texas is a very good fit. They were looking at dishing out some money for Josh Donaldson last year, but they swung and missed on him. So we'll see if they reach out to George Springer is not a bad second option to Josh Donaldson.
Yep.
So the next guy we've got on the list, I'm really sad to see him go. I mean, we got really lucky with the 1-year contract, but Marcell Ozuna, man, he really made every single penny on that 1 year, $18 million contract that the Braves signed him to this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best. I believe, was it free agent or was it a trade? I think it was free agency. That's the best free agent signing probably in the last 10 years, just from the output of playoffs. I think it was around 3 homers, 11 RBIs within this playoff year. Just fantastic, right? I mean, really can't ask for anything more than that. Certainly he's going to ask for a lot of money. He is my favorite free agent of all of these. I think he has probably the greatest next 1 to 3 year trajectory of everyone here. Plays a great outfield, fantastic at, in the box, obviously hits for power, loud contact, hard hit ball is way up there. So, where he'll go, I don't think he goes back to Atlanta. I would love to see him with the Giants, but then again, we'll be bringing up, prospects that are probably fill that void, but that's certainly someone I'd be looking for. If anyone needs left field help, that's a great name. Maybe one that gets involved, maybe the Red Sox. I mean, not a bad idea, right? I know you have, who you got from, and I can't recall his name right now, who you got for Mookie Betts, who's playing out in right, but left field's kind of an empty hole.
Yeah.
Just with inconsistent hitting. So that is definitely one that you might see come, especially with that left field wall and him hitting, lasers out there.
And I could see the Red Sox front office salivating after when the Braves visited Fenway this year, 2020. He hit 3 home runs in one game. So it's like,
well, there you go.
You never know. I mean, that's a good prediction. I hope he is back in Atlanta. The one slight against his game is his defense. Obviously, he's not a fast runner, but again, a lot hinges on the universal DH. I really think that it would be better if all teams move to the DH. We don't have to get into that, but in terms of personnel, I think it really adds another position player, allows you to sign a guy and extend his career, protect yourself from an organizational perspective. And if there was the DH, I would welcome a large contract to Marcell Ozuna any day this offseason.
Yeah, we'll see if that universal DH happens. I know, like I stated previously, that Manfred was quoted that the upcoming year would not have it. I'd love to see that put to a vote. I think it was pretty exciting for baseball, as you said, right? It gave a lot more opportunity for the depth to play. Also, it allows for some of these catchers, to have some longevity. Certainly, switching from first to DH to catcher, I think it only adds to that, and it'll keep the stars around longer.
Yeah. So what was your prediction on that one, on Marcell?
I'll go with Red Sox. Not confident, but I'll
All
go with
right.
Red Sox.
Writing it down. It's in ink.
And on video.
All right, cool. And then the last guy we've got on our list, DJ LeMahieu. Well, I have DJ LeMahieu. Who's your fifth guy?
Yeah, I'll go with DJ as well. I mean, I don't think DJ's going anywhere. He had his best 2 seasons of his career with the Yankees. He hits opposite field. He hits pole. I mean, he really lasers everywhere, plays a great second base. He's a leader in the clubhouse. Fantastic for them. They even got him on a 2-year 24, which a steal, right? So maybe he gets another 2 or 3 year deal. Yankees, I don't think he goes anywhere.
Yeah, it was a pretty good steal, especially when he posted a 142 OPS plus. It's like 2 year, $12 million a year for 142, 42% performance above league average. That's pretty insane. So I think they love him in New York. I think they're going to stay. He's going to stay there as well. Even with his injury shortened to 2020, I think he's still going to land a pretty decent contract at the age of 30.
Yeah. The big thing too, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but arguably the best second baseman in the MLB. From a hitting perspective, defense and so forth, probably top 3 easily. And certainly playing at Yankee Stadium too.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's definitely fair. You're a fair guy. All right. So rounding out the podcast, I think I just want to end it this way. I mean, what do you think of the, overall, what did you think of the 2020 baseball season? And do you think it was a net positive or net negative or, just even?
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I think, I'm a 162 guy. So I think there are 100 games that we're missing. That's pretty obvious. I think that the grueling through that, right, having all different types of if it's injuries or depth plays and so forth, and utilizing your minor league system is part of the strategy of making it to a World Series. Does it have to be 162? Probably not. Maybe we shorten down to 120 or 100. I just think 62 is too little to really know, and that's why I like to call it the Major League Baseball tournament. And it gave really, the powerhouse of a team who literally had to use little depth, being the Dodgers, an easy road to the championship. So, it's an asterisk in my book. It was fun to watch, and it was a shortened season, which I think was fun for fantasy baseball, just because we didn't have to do, what is it, like 15 or 17 weeks of different plays and so forth, which is exhausting in itself. And then having a job on the side is even more so. But yeah, I mean, it did its service, but at the end of the day, ratings talk, and ratings were the lowest they've ever been.
Yep. That's a good point. What is going on with the ratings, man? It's discouraging. It's like nobody's going to the games and nobody's watching the games. So I hope it turns around next season. I think it has a lot to do with, marrying politics and sports, which I hope they come to a fast annulment in 2021. But overall, I think at the beginning of the season, it was a very nice distraction coming back. The whole world was, as we keep hearing, the whole world's crazy, and sports served a little purpose. It served as a little bit of a distraction away from all the mess of 2020. So it was nice to break the year up and get fantasy baseball going again. I really liked my whole fantasy baseball strategy is planned around 162 games a season. So it was like the season started fantasy, made 2 trades, and all of a sudden it was playoffs. And, I never felt like I could get into the swing of things, which is why I probably lost. And that's the only reason why. So, so I mean, all in all, it did actually create some pretty hysterical moments. I mean, watching the Braves all year, I don't know if people are aware of this if they don't watch the Braves, but the Braves mascot was next is so hysterical. I've never seen anything like it. Because there are no people in the stands, he was able to create these moments where he would be dancing on the dugouts of both the home and away dugout, where the cheerleaders go for, between innings. And he had, for every single game, he had a different shtick. One shtick was he was like just roasting a turkey. Well, another one was he was just a DJ, just banging out, like he had a whole DJ set up. Another one was he was a beekeeper. Another one, he was a flower gardener, and he just had these elaborate setups that you could see. You know how they pan the camera to a hitter right up his on. You can see like the stands behind the hitter. Mm-hmm. He would be in frame every single time they would pan up close to a batter, and it drove me mad with laughter. So I appreciated that. And I think I appreciated the format of the playoffs and the DH. I think we didn't know how the DH was going to pan out until it actually was implemented. It was a good little, experiment, and I think it was a successful one. I really liked it. I didn't like the runner on second base for the 11th inning, the extra innings. That felt like very Bush League, but yeah, hopefully they get rid of the bad and they keep the good. Yeah. I know that's subjective, but I think I'm right. So
yeah, runner on second has to go. That's not baseball. Not going to get behind that. The DH, I agree with you. I think that was a fantastic addition. I think we covered that previously in this podcast, but I would love to see that stay. And I think you made a great point, right? The human part of it, which I wasn't even thinking of. I'm thinking so around stats and the Dodgers winning, my brain is so clouded, but really around the human stats of this. It was a great way to get away from our day-to-day of looking at the same four walls of the rooms that we're in, the same work we're doing, and get some type of release, which all of us haven't been able to have. If that's seeing our friends or going out to the bars or going out to restaurants or seeing family, we haven't had to have that. And I think that was a fantastic escape. So from a human perspective, yeah, I think it did what it needed to do. But the Dodgers still won, so that human part's going downhill rapidly.
I agree. All right. Thanks, Vince. And thanks to all the listeners still listening. Please rate, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys sticking with us. And we will see you guys next time on the Eat, Play, Chug podcast. Vince, you got anything else?
And we're out.